Iron and Infrastructure Podcast Introduction. The podcast that ties together fitness and construction, shifting the industry narrative and giving insight on how to become a business owner while living life under the bar, weightlifting, personal development, the infrastructure industry, and how to merge the two worlds to achieve prosperity. I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery. All stand and applaud, please.
This episode is brought to you by R&R Pipeline, an infrastructure company. Our purpose? Enhancing America's infrastructure with a safety-driven, integrity-led culture that provides an environment for team members to grow and thrive. On today's show, we have a guest in here that is a little bit unique in his own right. Comes from a small town, but is going to do big things. I have to start the show with the definition of success. So what does success look like to you? Success isn't a destination, but a measure of fulfillment. It's doing self-fulfilling actions with great people for great causes. The Graphic Gangster Cole Susac, an alum from the Ohio State University. I'm going to call you a serial entrepreneur because you have multiple businesses.
I like that.
So we'll go with that for
That's
today.
good.
Tell me more about your definition of success, because I have a great appreciation for that.
Yeah.
And I've never heard it described that way, but I can relate 1,000%.
Yeah. I mean, so how I came up with that definition is Corey Gregory, like, you know, he's been on the show. He asked me that on one of his like podcasts and stuff like that. And honestly, whenever he asked me that question, I was like kind of pissed off at myself because I didn't really have like a good answer.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you know, I'm 26. At the time I wrote that, I was 25. So I wrote it last year. But honestly, just like thinking about it, like success, a lot of people think that there's a point where you reach success, right? And I think you can experience success daily. It's like a current. It's like it's on your timeline, right? Sometimes you feel like you're being successful. Sometimes you're not feeling that way. But at the end of the day, like, as if you're surrounded with like good people and what you're working for is for a greater good, and you know you feel confident in like yourself and everything like that, I think that is success.
Your environment controls a lot of your, journey. It really does. So the people you surround yourself with, if you're in a negative, hostile environment, more likely that's going to be who you become, negative and hostile.
100%.
That was me whenever I first went into the workforce at R&R Pipeline. Did you have that experience growing up in the Ohio Valley? From a small town, small mind, short vision of the world? I mean, it's it's a very small town, right?
Yeah, super small town. Like, I mean, I think according to like Wikipedia and Google, like the last census said there was like 400 people in my hometown. So there's not even like a red stoplight. It's a 4-way stop sign.
Right.
Like that's the central of the town. So yeah, growing up, like I saw everyone basically working blue collar jobs. Most of it was coal mine. Now it's shifted to the pipeline and industry, love stuff like that. But I always grew up seeing a lot of people talking like they didn't have money, struggling with their relationships, going through divorce, stuff like that. And a lot of people who just like hated their job. So they would resort to always, drinking alcohol and stuff like that. And I just knew at like a young age, like I was not trying to live like that.
Something bigger.
I have an older brother who was very instrumental in telling me like, hey, you got to get out of here, go experience. Like there's more to life than this small circle, right? So yeah, like I always had the want to go do something else because I never wanted to be the guy who talked about, oh man, I don't want to go home and see like my like wife. I'm not happy at my job. So, always trying to work towards that. So that really is why like success to me is, as long as I'm doing something good and I'm happy and I'm having fun, like that's success to me.
So I can relate so much to this. And for 12 years, I worked toward one accomplishment, one goal. And I thought that would give me happiness and joy, and that would fulfill me, like from a success standpoint. 12 years for one goal, and 2 days after I accomplished that goal, I was pitted because I was empty. And what I didn't realize was the process to achieving that, who I had become as an individual to achieve that goal, was the success. It wasn't the accolade of the ownership of the company. The person that I was, though, was the actual success of it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't realize that. I thought it was this tangible thing that I had to feel, had to have in my hands, but it wasn't. It was all internal.
It's everything around that. Like a lot of people contribute, like, oh, I'm gonna get like this house, or I'm gonna get X,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna go somewhere. But once you get there, it's like
It wasn't the thing.
it's
it
not
was
yeah.
internal. You know, what you did to become that person that could actually achieve that goal is where the real thing is at. So the daily process for me is my success.
Yeah.
I could not write a more perfect day today than what I have right now, because it's what I love to do.
Yeah,
It's the people I want to be around. It's what I love to do. My environment's great. My home life is good. My family's good. Everything that I do, to me, is a success right now.
Yeah.
And every endeavor that I take on is going to, compound that or add to it. And it sounds like it's the same for you, where you just enjoy life. You enjoy the process.
100%. Yeah, it's not really, and like, being involved with like business at like such a young age, you always just like, I developed the mindset early. It's like, once you accomplish something, it's on to the next one. And you just continue to stack like that. And along that road, that's how you gain the knowledge. You go through all these different crazy like life experiences and stuff like that. And you realize like, yeah, it's like the end destination doesn't really matter. It's like what's happening like right now.
Yeah.
And like, again, like success is like a currency. Like it goes up and down. Maybe sometimes you reach to where you think that you're at success, but after a point in time, like for me, I naturally like want more. So now it's like, all right, now how do I get to this next level of hypothetical success?
So I referenced journey to your next destination or the next destination. There isn't really an end destination though.
Mm-mm.
In my lifetime, I'll never experience a end destination. I'll be dead, but I was still going toward that next destination, regardless of what it was in the time frame that I had in mind. Having that date on the calendar, as Corey always says, is something that is just so crucial to accomplishment.
Yeah.
If you hop in your car, you start driving down the road with no destination in mind, no GPS coordinates to get there, where the hell are you going?
Yeah.
And so many people fall into this trap. And I want to touch on the blue collar background from your environment growing up, and the coal mine, and then to the pipeline. What you witness is exactly the reason the show exists, because it's the world that I lived in for so long. So few people actually figure out what their individual success looks like.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. It doesn't have to be, owning a business or being a CEO or, anything even at a high level from a business standpoint. It could be a school teacher or, being part of a volunteer program for your community, a member of your church, whatever success looks like, it's individual.
Mm-hmm.
But identifying what individual success looks like is so hard for people.
Yeah.
And being aware that it's okay to want to do what you want to do in life, and other people's opinions really don't matter. Like, it's irrelevant. I'm sure that you probably had a lot of feedback in a negative light from leaving your hometown.
100%. I was definitely more of a outlier growing up in my small town because I didn't really fit the norms. Like, yeah, back home in small towns, like everyone loves sports, so obviously I connected in that way. But a lot of other guys, they knew in high school they wanted to go to the coal mine and wanted to go to the pipeline, work on cars and do stuff like that. That was like never me. I was more into gaming, more on the techie side, like not really into anything anyone else was doing, right? But still, like, I had like the most like love and respect for like all my friends who like do go in the coal mine and stuff like that. But now it's like, whenever I go home and I see them now, they're all making great money. Like, it's not like they're like hurting for money. Like, they're doing really good. But what I always try to convey to them is like, dude, you're in such a great opportunity because you're young and you're making this money. But it's like, what are you doing with it now? Like, you have to like flip the switch of like, oh, I'm going and working like this tough job and I'm doing all this stuff and I just like don't like it. But if you look at it as an opportunity where I can make some money, go do something else, or maybe this is an opportunity for me to level up in this company. A lot of people just think they get a job, it sucks right now, and I'm going to be doing this forever. But really, if you try to progress, it's not like that.
95 to 99.9% of people that go into that workforce have that mindset because they are never aware of a different way. The owners of companies, and I'll put myself in that box now. Owners like myself are not looked up to, they're looked down upon because they had to do something to cheat the system, or they did this or did that, or it was handed to them. The reality is ownership is about figuring out a way to create opportunity that can change your life and having the balls to take that opportunity and run with it. And I say create opportunity because I reference a story about myself creating opportunity for me in certain situations where it could have easily went really bad. But a story that I've heard you tell a couple times about test boosters, stacking them, being an intern for free. But there was a transition period in there where you posted up, you made your mark and landed on it. So
yeah,
tell the listeners about that story.
All right, so a little bit of background. So after I graduated high school and stuff like that, my original plan was to go play like, college football. So throughout high school, my entire goal was my exit of where I'm going to go next is through college football, go to a new city, go to school, get an education and stuff like that. Ended up not deciding financially it wasn't a good decision to go play college football. I was kind of out of it anyways. And so I come to Ohio State. That's where I meet Corey Gregory, start training with him. And that's really – football is where my love for like weightlifting and stuff came out. So I was always super into fitness, loved that, was definitely a meathead in high school. So then whenever I came up to Ohio State –
in high school? You're still not?
I mean, yeah, still.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
But so coming to Ohio State – obviously, I'd follow Corey, and he's been such a huge mentor, business-wise, professionally, even in life. He's kind of like a big brother, basically.
Same. Yeah.
And so whenever I started training with him and stuff like that, he had just started Max for Muscle, which is the supplement company here based out of Granville, and I was training with him, and he asked me if I wanted to intern. And so I've been following him. He had crazy success. I knew all of his background. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, this is a great opportunity. I'll come in, intern, do whatever. I spent, and this was while I was in school, so I was a freshman, taking classes, doing all that shit. And one of my first days as an intern was, so whenever supplements come in and they come on a huge pallet, tons of boxes, right? And, there's usually 12 or so in each products in all these boxes, right? Well, he needed to count inventory. So I open up these fucking boxes, this huge pallet of these test boosters, which are not that small. And there's probably 6 of them. And I had to go through and open every single box, double count that, make sure that they sent all the right numbers to us, and then report that. I mean, it was like over 1,000 fucking test boosters. And that was basically my job every day where I would go in. Just small, monotonous shit like that, where a lot of people would give up, basically.
Yeah.
I did that for probably 3 months of just counting inventory, helping fulfill orders, and just a bunch of stuff where it'd be easy for people to quit.
What was your mindset to say, yeah, I'm in, but then to continue to do it? Because you probably just felt like this dead end road, like, what the hell am I doing this for? But then you have to have a bigger picture in your mind, because you wouldn't show up every day if you didn't.
Yeah, because I wasn't getting paid. I was just there on my own time. After classes, sometimes I wouldn't even go to class. I'd just go help out because they needed it. And I just knew that the opportunity I was in would lead to something else. As long as I wasn't a dickhead, didn't complain about it, didn't do anything, just put my head down and do the work, I knew that the opportunity I was in would lead to better things, because with Corey and his success and just what the business was doing really well, even at that point, I was like, oh, this could definitely lead to something more. But I knew I wasn't going to be counting product forever.
Right.
I had that mindset of, I'm going to figure out something else to where I can get more involved.
And the amount of courage it takes for a commitment of something that small with no return on the initial front, it's really rare to see people that are willing to do that, where you committed to this thing that was not going to pay you up front. You're going to work your ass off and not see anything in return for it directly. Yeah. Indirectly, though, you knew that something would happen if you applied yourself and showed that you had the grit that was required.
Yeah. And so, again, you got to find opportunity, right? If you see an opportunity, you see where something's struggling or where you can help at, or you're just willing to say, hey, I'll try to figure this out, which is what I did. So there was no one making graphics. There was no one doing any creative stuff like that. And I had experience in middle school and high school of just making YouTube videos and learning basic Photoshop shit. So I told him, yo, I used to do this a little bit. I haven't done it in a while, but if you need some, I'll be willing to learn and stuff like that. So I literally went from fulfilling orders, count inventory, and I just literally said, hey, you know what, Corey, I'm going to take this desk, I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to put it in that corner, and I'm just going to start doing this.
Yeah.
He was like, all right, sure.
Yeah.
So then it was just head down, learning a new skill now, just busting my ass, trying to learn it as efficiently as possible, just trying to go through all the monotonous shit, which then led to, earning like a paid position and stuff like that.
Right. And so there's a fine line. I want everyone to understand this part too. There's a fine line between having the balls and the courage to go do something like that, but then actually having the foundation and the work to showcase that you're ready to do something like that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that probably are thinking, oh, I'm just going to go jump on this opportunity. I'm going to just tell them what's up and this is what I'm going to do. But you have to lay that foundation of proof first to showcase that you actually have what it takes to do it.
Which was, for me, that was, I would show up every day, good attitude, wouldn't complain about what I was doing, just being a fly on the wall, listening to the conversations, asking like good questions, not asking questions or just so I can make a connection or have a conversation, just generally like I'm trying to learn here. And I think he recognized that, and people around you can recognize
100%.
that. Like whenever you're really about it and you are trying to get better, people will recognize
it's authentic. You can't fake it. And it's to someone that already knows or is already in that space. Whenever you see someone that has that grit, that desire to be better, it's like it's a glaringly obvious thing.
Which
it's like not a genetic thing. It's an acquired taste that you develop over time because of probably adversity in your life or things that you've seen.
People who have went through that stuff, they want to help you.
Yeah.
So, Corey gave me the opportunity. I was still working for free for a while, and then like my junior or senior of college, that's whenever he called me and was like, hey, like I'll pay you. It was like $700 a month, and I just want you to do this and just figure it out, and then we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, well, that's enough money to basically help me pay rent and stuff like that, which then, led me to taking on more stuff, learning photography, learning all this stuff to where, now I have, ownership in the company. I really kind of run all the creative stuff.
The Graphic Gangster.
Yeah.
There was no path toward being the Graphic Gangster, but now that's how you are identified to the general public as far as Cole Susac, the Graphic Gangster. I know who he is.
Yeah.
He does all the graphic design at Max. You've done a lot of my stuff too. Website development, graphics for me, with the iron infrastructure business, with R&R Pipeline. I think you've done almost all of it, all the design on the hoodies and stuff. I mean, quite a bit.
And one thing is like, I don't like, keep myself in the box of like I only make graphics, right? Like one of my big thing is like, and we talk about here all the time, is like the entry point. Like what was your entry point? For me, it was the graphics, but now I love to say, whenever people ask me what I do, I just say, my job title is basically like whatever it needs to be, right? So I handle like so much other random stuff, but
titles are very, very overused and overrated, where putting someone in a box, unless that's the only skill set they have, in an environment like this, it's such in general, a creative environment. I would be far-fetched to say that there isn't one individual here that came in with a certain direction that hasn't pivoted and went out that 100%. Direction. Treadway's a prime example. You're a prime example. Trey. I mean, you think about the uniqueness of Max Effort Muscle and the story from everyone in here. It's all different. Everyone has a different story how they got here, but they all were able to find out what made them, we call it from Strategic Coach unique ability, but what's your purpose? And it kind of identifies like your success statement earlier. Yeah. You're doing what success is to you every day. It's an environment of creativity, which is amazing in itself. You never know what you're going to get. There isn't a lot of day-to-day structure. It's more about adjusting as the market does or as the business structure changes. So such a creative environment. You're not, it's not monotonous. It's not boring. And always on the edge.
I think though, like the one recipe, if I had to point to it, is just like, we just love like working hard, right? Like everyone here, like that's it. No one, I would say, in here ever thought in the position that they're doing now is what they would be doing. But we generally just all love putting our heads down, going to work. If you got a challenge that pops up, let's attack it. The
process. I look at problems like opportunities. Okay, so something happens in business. We can't get plastic bottles anymore. Me and Corey went round and round on this. We have a plastic shortage. Supply chain, is in, scrambles right now. Year and a half, 2 years ago, and plastic bottles are a real issue. We can't get caps, so we can't distribute fat burners. We can't do this, can't do that. I was worried about being able to get pipe, and he was worried about getting bottles and how to get through this stage of supply chain issues. But then we got these bags now. Our business model shifts. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity. It's a challenge though during that until you figure out what the opportunity is and how to get, how to evolve from it. But every problem is just a sign of progress, in my opinion, because you're outgrowing that current state of ability and you're going to the next level. You're evolving as a person or as a business. It is painful sometimes, though. It's not always easy, but looking at it from that positive mindset and saying, okay, we have this challenge or this problem in front of us, but really it's an opportunity to get better. So how can we maximize the opportunity, put our head down and grind and get through it, and then evolve from it?
I mean, you just got to take whatever that skill, whatever challenge you're presented with, you got to dial in and go through all the hard shit, all the hard work to figure that out. And then at some point you'll get the opportunity to help someone who's now facing that challenge, but now you yourself have your own challenges, right? Like I can imagine like you at R&R, like you're at the lowest level, doing all the grunt work, doing all that shit. At some point you probably got bumped up to where you're now helping manage the project. That itself is another huge problem they have to figure out.
Every evolution from, the progress that we all achieve, the problems are bigger because the progress is bigger.
Yeah.
But being able to handle them because you understand them more as you progress is having the mental capacity to understand, this is only a season. This is temporary. This isn't permanent,
short-term,
right?
Yep.
So what always seemed 10 years ago detrimental, like, how am I ever going to get over this? Well, it was just temporary. It's just a season.
Yeah.
It's not forever. So understanding, all right, let's sit back, let's relax for a couple minutes, and before hitting that panic button or the sense of urgency button, what's fact, what's not fact, and then just having like a cool, calm, somewhat approach where understanding that this is a sign of a progression that's coming, and then figure out what that opportunity looks like and how to maximize the potential. Yeah,
you got to develop like a mental game plan, basically, for real.
Yeah.
Like I take everything back to football. Like if you get a challenge, you just literally analyze it as a head coach. Like, all right, what's our strengths here? What the hell do we got to figure out? And then you get those bullet points. Boom, let's attack them.
So we have EOS in our company, and it's entrepreneurial operating system. It's kind of like having a football team. Everyone has a job to do. Everyone has someone they report to. Everyone has a certain position, and it's do your job. Yeah. Don't try to do everyone else's job. Just do yours first, 100%. And maximize what you're good at and what you do well at. That's why you're in the position you're in. Just like a business, just like a football team. Having the skill set to understand that, if I go over here and help this guy out, he'll do better. But then the guy that would come help me isn't going to do better. He's going to fail. I'm going to fail. And for one guy to do better. So do your damn job. Do it good. Exceed at it. Excel at it. And then help where you need to help. Yeah. We call them rocks in EOS, but your goals or your big priorities have to be 80, 90% of what you do. And the rest of it is, trickled in here and there, but got to take care of the big picture first. 100%.
And if you just do your job, people will notice and they'll want to help you. Like that's how you get an elevated position.
1,000%.
It's there was Matt Rule, the head coach of Nebraska. He was talking like all the guys who are, freshmen in workplaces would be like the guys who are at the entry level of the job. He's like, you have to like go through this. Like you learn by going through all this stuff, putting in the work every day. But then look at these guys who are seniors, right? They were in the same spot. Right. At some point, people will notice and you'll earn your spot and opportunity.
And the ones that do, excel and create that opportunity for themselves, they enjoy the process. What we do every day, we enjoy it. We wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 days a week. We come in here and grind it out for an hour, hour and a half, but we love doing it or else we wouldn't do it. 100%. So it's almost like a selfish act. And I look at it like a selfish act. I have to put myself first. If I don't put myself first in general, then my kids, my wife, my peers, my network, my partners in business, they're not going to get the best version of me. If I excel personally, everything else is going to excel. 100%. But if you don't take care of yourself, that's when the downfall starts to happen. Let's talk about tying all this together from a partnership standpoint. You have business partners in a couple of businesses. I'm a partnership person myself. This is the only business, the Iron Infrastructure LLC is the only business that I own by myself. Yep. And it's kind of funny to think that, I have 5 different businesses that I'm involved in, and only one of them is actually all mine.
Just yours. Yeah.
And it's funny to even think about it that way, but I'm a partnership person, and the way that I look at it is I've been able to create opportunity for myself. I open up my door, my window of opportunity, but I'm opening up everybody else's too. And when you have a true collaboration mindset where it's not me and you competing against each other, it's me and you competing against whoever's in our way. Yep. And we're going together though. It's very powerful. It's unique. And I'm starting to realize now that it's not as common as what I thought it was because it was natural for me. I know what I'm not good at. Anything organizational, admin, in that regard, I am horrible at. I spend a lot of time trying to get better at it. It's still a weakness though, and I'm not going to do it myself. So I know that, hey, I need people around me in this area or that area to pick up what I'm not good at. So understanding your weaknesses to me is almost as important as understanding your true strengths, and then filling yourself around, putting people around you that understand how to maximize their potential and mitigate your risk as far as a weakness. So talk about partnership for you. You grew up playing football, then you went to high state, then you come to Max. You have a brotherhood now in the 4 a.m. crew. You have a brotherhood at Max Effort.
Mm-hmm.
You've always had this team mentality. Talk about the difference in strength in numbers compared to, just trying to go solo on your own.
Yeah. So one thing I always think about is, a lot of times, most people, play sports in high school, right? Mm-hmm. And through that, you always have a coach. You always got good teammates that you rely on, that who push you and stuff like that. Most of the time, whenever people leave, they lose that, right? There's no one to tell them what to do. There's not really any other people. It's not the same type of push of right. Oh, hey man, you got to step it up because I need you, right? Mm-hmm. And thankfully, I've always been in a situation where there's always been mentors in my life. I've always hung around older guys, and one of the smartest things, I forget what coach it was said it was it was whenever I was a freshman or sophomore, you got to go around and ask these older guys, what are they doing to get on the field? What are they doing to be successful? So once you get around the 4 a.m. crew and you got all these guys who are doing their own thing, it's what do I need to do to also be involved in this, mm-hmm. right? And at that point, it's now become where everyone's, helping each other, trying to progress them to the next level. And it's always offering that support, that accountability, mm-hmm. the discipline, if people are slacking off, just even not even in the gym, just in life in general, yep. Call them out yo, dude, you got your shit together?
Because you care about them.
Yeah,
right?
because you care.
It's not because I'm being a dick. It's because I want you to succeed. I care about you.
Yeah.
Right? There's a big difference in criticism and, a negative intent, criticizing someone because they're not, doing things that you think they should do. And then there's the positive side where you're criticizing them because they're not doing the things they know they should be doing and they should be doing.
Yeah,
huge difference.
Coming in complaining all the time about the same situation, the same problem, but it's dude, what the hell are you doing? Change something. Go.
What the hell are you doing
something.
with your life? I mean, I know you've heard me say this so many times. And Corey called me out, and the day that he called me out, I was pissed, but I wasn't pissed at him. I was pissed at myself. It was a look in the mirror acknowledgement of what the hell am I doing? I'm not doing a damn thing. I'm going nowhere. I am who everyone said I would be.
Yeah.
Essentially, small town, same background as you. I think we had one stoplight, so we got in a gas station maybe, so we got you on that. Yeah. But I was going in the direction everyone said I would. And then I got asked that question that day, and it wasn't the immediate change, but it was a recognition of failure, mm-hmm. because it wasn't that I tried and quit. I wasn't even trying, so it was even worse than quitting because I didn't even try to change. Yeah, and that started the evolution for me. That was just at the beginning.
My high school football used to preach all the time about being complacent. Yeah, complacency is literally the enemy of success, of getting your goals, of doing all that stuff. So I always, just thought I never want to be in the same situation as I am a year from now. Right?
No, because if you're not growing, you're dying, man. I truly believe that. So let's talk a little bit about the football team mentality and then what you've seen after. So you've continued to have a team mindset, a collaboration, partnership mindset, but so many people were on this high school team. And what I've always seen, high school team, this big atmosphere, Friday night lights, were the talk of the town. Graduate high school, go to college, go get a job, whatever, a few years, and then come back 4 or 5 years later, back a part of the community. I'm never talking about what I'm going to go do or what I'm doing. It's always what I used to do, the glory days, stuck in the past because of that lack of collaboration or partnership or team where everyone had this unity and this place to go. But then that goes away, and so many people crumble after that. They never form their own collaboration. I was the outcast in school. I was on my own the whole time, and then as I got older, I started to form partnerships and collaborate with people and have mentors in. But you've had to see that so many times where people don't have that team and they just fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, I really just think everyone needs some sort of coach in life. Really, even the best
in every
coaches,
facet of life too.
Every coach, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, doesn't matter who it is, Urban Meyer, they all have coaches,
100%,
right? Because they need someone to continue to push them and make them see everything differently,
Yep.
right? And now, like, what we have here is all of us are basically our own coach of ourselves, and also we all know each other's roles. So going back to your point with the partnerships and stuff like that, we can rely on everyone. Like, if there's a spot for someone, let's get them in there because I know they can handle this, right? And you're only as strong as like your weakest link, so we try to get
100%.
everyone those opportunities.
Well, and I define success for me individually as in 5 years complete freedom of purpose, time, money, and relationships. So enough money to do what I want when I want. I have great relationships in my life. I have no negative relationships. Time management's in check. I do, have the means to do whatever I desire in life. My complete success is, for me, is freedom. But on a higher level, my individual success is not that big of a picture for me. It's who is around me becoming more successful. Leadership to me isn't about me being successful. It's about everyone else's success. My desire to have everyone else be successful is probably higher than my own success, quite honestly, because me being able to showcase a trophy is whatever, but me being able to showcase a team holding trophies, that's where the power's at. And I know G always references not being the only one at the dinner table that can buy for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And like we went to UFC fights, we had referenced that a little bit. It was, when he said that the first time, it was probably like 10 years ago. And I'm like, damn, I'm going to buy dinner one day.
Yeah.
And then the first time I was able to buy for everyone, I was like, oh shit, that felt good. not that, I had the money to do it, but that I had the team and the people around me that appreciated it. And then were like, okay, he's doing this. And it inspired people, right?
Which, I would say like that's one of the best things about leadership is like, a good coach or anyone like that will always tell you like there's more. They'll encourage you like, hey, there's more to this, or you can do this, you can continue this. There's never any negative conversation, right? It's always like enthusiastic. Oh man, like that's awesome for you. Like hell yeah, keep crushing it. So the more you hear that and surround yourself with other people who just don't think negatively, they're never complaining, never doing anything, it breeds off to everything, right?
And then we lose a grip on reality because, from a financial standpoint, there's times where I have to check myself in conversation, and me and G have certain conversations that, we put more commas and zeros at the end of that conversation what we normally would. But there's a lot of time where I lose track of who I'm speaking with or like my audience or whatever. And then that negative mindset comes out. And people that don't view the world the way that we do outside of, a positive environment. And then you just forget like how bad it can be.
Yeah.
Starting back to where we began the conversation, like individual success is so important for people. And it's such like a untalked about thing. Oh, big, muscle heads talking about their individual success and, probably thinking about unicorns and rainbows and all this shit. No, it's a real thing. Like what makes you happy in life? What gives you fulfillment? And if you're not working toward that every day, you're going to live a long, miserable life.
Yeah.
And it's like a dead end road that people just don't know how to, find a different way.
Like, and I, have those conversations with like my friends and stuff, and or even older people, younger people, whatever. I never want them to view me as like I'm like, something like out of reach or like out of touch. Like I hope people like view me as like an inspiration almost, right? Like the things I'm doing is not really like, of course, I'm trying to progress for me and everything, but I really hope, especially where I came from, like I hope I'm inspiring like another kid who's in fucking Bellsville, who's 14, doesn't really know, wants to change their situation. I hope they can look at me and say, oh, he did it. I can do it.
Right. So we have no control over our environment from a young age. From 3 to 6 years old is when we really develop that foundation from an environment standpoint. The adversity that we go throughout our life is really not in our control for a long time. And then our success is really looking at adversity in life and how do we react to adversity in general. If any adversity gets you down and beat you up, then, you're going to lay on that floor beat up a lot.
Yeah.
If you figure out that I'll lay on that floor, but I'm going to get up from it, I'll take another punch or two, and it's not going to get me down again. How you manage adversity is huge, especially coming from a small town. I reference the highway to success, and my personal development journey started probably 10 or 15 years ago, where I started, just reading, listening to books a little bit. I couldn't read in school. I had a tutor up until probably like third grade. Like, it was a pain point for me for a long period of my life. And when I started personal development, it's like, man, the world is so much bigger than this little town I grew up in. So this 2-lane road of, visualization that I have of what the world looks like. When personal development started, it's like, holy shit, I have another lane I'm at in here.
Mm-hmm.
And now I look at it like a 200-lane highway, and it's under construction every day. Because there is no stop to the evolution now. Now I'm obsessed with educating myself and learning more, and knowing that there's a bigger world out there. Just being aware of that and then applying yourself to it is huge. Well,
yeah, people get stuck in like their one small perspective of how they view everything, and that's where they start to hold grudges against people. They start being judgmental, and honestly, they start to back down from any adversity, any challenges. And honestly, like that's just because it's easy. Like it's easy to be a hater. It's easy to judge people. It's easy to criticize and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But once mentally you can flip that script to where like, oh, this guy's doing like really good. Like, man, I should probably support this guy. Whatever he's got going on, like I kind of want to be involved in that.
Ask him a question. Put your hand, like just start a conversation. Say, hey man, how did you do this? How did you do that? I mean, just like your test booster story, how many opportunities have you got just because you spoke up and asked questions?
Yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah.
I know some of the most life-altering, things for me have been directly after I created opportunity for myself by asking questions. And I don't even look at it as, and maybe it's just a natural thing for me, as like real courage to go shake someone's hand. I don't care who it is walking through that door. I'll introduce myself, shake their hand. That's just another person to me. Mm-hmm. But in general, the dividends it's paid back to me has been huge. Developing that network, I look now at max effort. I knew Corey from 2005, so almost damn near 20 years ago. It's hard to believe that. I've known him for a long time, and like, man, when I first met him, he was selling vitamin packs before Muscle Farm started.
Yeah. And
now I look at what he's done, and now he's walking in talking about, reality TV shows and doing these, big things. It's still Corey Gregory though, and he's still willing to help anybody out. Just like me and you years ago when we first started. He knew we were about it. He's seen something in me that I didn't see, and probably the same for you. Mm-hmm. And you just created the opportunity to get there. And, Treadway did the same thing. Treadway came to max effort with a completely different direction than what he's doing now. But he found a sweet spot. He found an opportunity, created it because of applying himself.
Yeah. Like good people generally want to be around other good, positive, enthusiastic people, and they don't want to deal with any like drama and stuff like that.
And so talk about positivity from your perspective and the mindset and how important being a positive person is in general.
Well, I mean, no one wants to work with anyone that complains all the time. No one really wants to be around them. Like if they drain more energy than they give, you're not really going to, get it anywhere. You're not going to do anything. You're going to have troubles with relationships, issues and stuff like that. So, every day, I just try to bring the juice to life. Like, and no matter what project it is, and there's shit I don't want to do and stuff like that where I might think it's a pain in the ass, but at the end of the day, you just got to do it.
Yeah. Having what you talk about, how you talk about it, and what you look at as far as the next step or where you're going. If you're skiing down a hill and there's only one tree on that hill, and you keep saying, I just got to miss that tree. More likely you're going to smack it. Like,
you're going to hit it.
You're going to go right into it because it's what you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a positive mindset, regardless of what the actual outcome is, if you are positive about the journey and about the outcome, I can promise you're going to be a lot happier with it than what you would be if it was a negative outcome. So focusing on, the outcome being in a positive light. I mean, if you can be in a bad mood for no reason, why can't you be in a good mood for no reason?
100%.
And in the blue collar world, like what you were referencing earlier, growing up, a bunch of just miserable people who just never figure out another way. And that's why I was so passionate about this show is, first of all, the health part, and we'll get to that in a minute, but understanding that you don't have to be the fourth generation of miserable or the fifth generation. There is another life outside of that generational, I call it a curse, but just generational scarcity mindset. And, I don't want to say poverty from a financial standpoint, but poverty from a mental or growth standpoint where just not willing to see past what is right in front of you.
Yeah. And changing that, it's like the hardest thing.
It is.
It is. Because that requires you to do everything different than what you've seen, grown up to, all that stuff. You have to literally be willing to do things differently.
I think every family has that black sheep or that one that is just willing to go against the grain and do whatever it takes to get out of that current reality. And it's obvious the ones that do it, and it's a sacrifice. It's not easy. It's very painful. But then when you get to a point where you understand the reality of it, it's almost a thing you can't go back the other way.
Nope.
Like, there's no way that I could go back to what my life should have been. There's no way. I can't even fathom being that human that I was supposed to be.
No.
That person died a long time ago, and that person never coming back.
And that's why I'm so passionate and enthusiastic about like teaching all my other family members, just giving them small tidbits of like, hey, do this, doing certain things to make them start to think differently, so that way I can help everyone try to change their situation.
Right. And for me, the blue collar world is the initial audience, but really the message for anybody. It's hard for me I don't want to preach to people. I don't want to say, oh, this is the way to do it, or this is the only way or the best way. Nothing is a one size fits all. I think everyone should identify what success looks like to them. That one, that is individual, and that is something that everyone should do. But I want to create awareness, and just awareness of a different way, if not awareness of an opportunity, just awareness to understand that we've always done it this way should be a red flag to everybody.
Yep.
And I know from a business standpoint, anytime that I would hear, yeah, we've always done it this way, I'm immediately looking at that because something has not evolved at all. It should be scrapped. It should be redone. Something's wrong. Something's off. Let's take a commercial break, and then we'll dive into the iron.
Oh yeah.
This commercial break is brought to you by the Pipeline to Prosperity newsletter. What are you putting in your pipeline to be successful? In Iron and Infrastructure LLC production. All right, we're back from commercial break. We have Cole Susac, the graphic gangster himself, from the Ohio State University, and we're going to go right into the iron. So iron sharpens iron. It builds personal infrastructure. That's how I like to describe it. Talk about the carryover from the weight room to productivity in a professional environment.
Yeah, so, obviously I'm in the 4 a.m. crew and stuff like that, and one of the reasons why I really got into it was one, just from a young age, I just knew the confidence and, just physically working towards something in the weight room and seeing the results like physically helped me a ton, especially whenever you can see and feel the carryover. Like I knew that whenever I was stronger, I knew I could hit people harder on the football field. I just knew my game would improve, right? So now it's shifted to where if I physically feel better and mentally I feel good, I can accomplish way more because I know that I push myself, physically, I got a good workout in, and that just, sets the tone for like the entire day.
100%.
So now it's just really, it's not even pushing, oh, I need to hit this number on bench or I'm not going to be happy. Now it's just like, did I get a good workout in? If I did, then I'm probably going to have a good day.
Right.
So I'm trying to chase that every day.
Yeah, 100%. And fitness is amazing because it's something that you're not going to see a direct return. What we do today is really not for today. It's really for 90 days to 6 months out. We're building for something we can't see in return right now. But the compound effect of discipline day over day, like myself, I went on the busy diet in October last year, September. And like now I'm in the best shape of my life and I'm on autopilot now. I think we were talking the other day and I was like, man, I can't eat enough. Like my metabolism's through the roof right now. But that's a side effect of discipline. The carryover in every other facet of life is just a side effect of the discipline. Yeah. It's when your alarm clock goes off, you get your ass out of bed. There's no emotional attachment to it. You wake up, you throw your gym bag over your shoulder, you go to the gym, you eat where you're supposed to when you're supposed to, you push yourself when you're training. Everything else is better when the training is good. Yeah. Rehabbing, injury, that is a struggle mentally for me. What about you? I know you've been dabbling back and forth with overcoming adversity with injuries and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, especially whenever you're, into, training and, wanting to push and stuff like that. Yeah, injuries fucking suck. And I've really had to mentally shift of like what I used to be able to do and what I've done is not who I am anymore.
Right.
I'm not even in that same mental zone. So now it's all starting back to square one. Now it's a thing of like, am I feeling good? Can I hit like a good number? Like that's good enough for me.
So as we evolve in the weightlifting game, it's very similar to business. I want to get your perspective on the carryover from the journey of fitness and lifting weights in general and business, what that looks like. So give me your perspective on it. I'll see if we have something that ties together here on this.
Well, I mean, I think, just how in the weight room, right? You start out in middle school, the first thing you want to do is you want to bench a plate,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know how much work that took to bench a plate.
Mm-hmm.
But now what does everyone else want to do after that? They want to hit 185.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's 2 plates. Then after you hit 2 plates, I want to hit 270.
Plate quarter, right?
Then I want to hit 3 plates, right? And business is just the same
Mm-hmm.
way. Like you want to start one thing. All right, I hit this. Now what do I got to do to work up to the next level?
100%.
And that's all it is you're continuously trying to reach that next, PR, that next,
Mm-hmm.
bench. And then yeah, you're continuously trying to do that.
Yeah. So when I think of weightlifting and business, I think they're very similar. So business, for me from 25 to 30, it was gun ho, as fast as I could, as hard as I could. Relentless recovery wasn't even a thing. That was in the weight room and in business.
Mm-hmm.
But then injuries happen. Like in business, it's a setback somewhere where, a process broke or wasn't there, or a portion of your business failed and weakness is uncovered. And what can be sustained through a business for so long and be covered up with a Band-Aid eventually comes to light, the same as overcompensation for a previous injury. And for me, I've had so many injuries in the last 10 or 15 years that I didn't understand. It was an indirect down the road thing that just was detrimental. And tearing a pec because my back screwed up. My back screwed up because of my hip and my back, lower back, and then the left knee injury. And it's like all these different things, they were all connected. And business is the same way. Failures in one area or one area of weakness, it takes some time to showcase it sometimes.
100%. And like whenever you start working out, it's real easy to get to 135 to 185. You're going fast and things you think what you're doing is good.
Yep.
Then once you hit 315, you hit this big milestone. You realize in order for me to get up to 350, it's going to require so much more work.
Right.
And it's all the small detail shit.
Right.
It's the smallest things that you have to learn and discover and uncover of what your weaknesses are in business and in the weight room that will help you lead up to that point.
Right. And there's like a maturity stage where there's almost this lack of awareness. We are not aware enough for our determination, but then the reality does hit us all in business and in the weight room. Like eventually we're going to have a setback or an injury of some sort in both because of our determination is still there, but our awareness isn't even remotely close. And then it finally breaks. But then if you, kind of recalibrate, sit back and look at it, okay, here's an opportunity to really understand what the reality is. And then like now we're still fairly young, but we understand the reality of the world a lot more now. So now we understand that to go from 315 to 350, it's going to take, a year.
And you're going to have to focus on one specific thing to get that up, which in turn should help everything else.
If your accounting department or finance department's, in a bad spot and you can identify why, put a plan in place and understand that I'm going to be persistent with it, but understand that it's not going to happen real quick. It's going to take some time, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to be simple, but not easy. Being patient is difficult, and especially as, gas pedal meatheads, it's very, very difficult sometimes to understand the reality of the time.
Yeah.
But once we establish that, then the process becomes more pleasant because it's not just that 350 that matters. It's the steps to get there.
100%.
And
it's analyzing, it's being self-aware of everything of like, is my technique shit?
Yeah.
Is my business structure bad?
Yeah.
Is something weak? Do I need to get this up? And it's just small readjusting everything. Everything that you thought you knew doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Now you have to look at it from I'm a beginner.
And what you think you know and what's actually fact too is
Yes.
a lot different sometimes.
Yeah.
And for me, where I thought I was helping other people while, from a business standpoint, I was getting them past the point of what they wanted to know, but then I created chaos afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, where I was going too far in depth with something else that wasn't, you know, aligned with the direct, you know, mission. The other part that I really look at from a business and a weightlifting journey carryover is when you have a setback or an injury, the first thing I do is tap into my network because, you know, mentorship is huge on both sides. And whenever there is a setback, having that network depth to understand that, man, anyone that has been through this is probably in my network. Anything that I go through, I have somebody I can call.
Yeah.
Powerful. It's massive.
That, and even asking like people like on your team and stuff like that, like what do you think?
Yeah.
Like what do you think I should do? Like what do you think we should do? Like that's huge in itself.
Self-awareness sometimes is the enemy of all of us, especially as confident, you know, good-looking meathead dudes that are obsessed with what they do. Sometimes we got to get out of our own way, but we can't realize that until someone gets us out of our own way.
That, and it's, you know, ego driven. Like, you know, we think that we can handle this. We think that we know the solution, or we will figure it out. But sometimes the easiest thing is just say, I don't know this.
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
Yeah, being vulnerable in both situations is tough. From people look at vulnerability sometimes as a weakness, and I look at it like a strength. If I am confident enough to be vulnerable about anything in my life, shit, I mean, watch out. Because it's not a weakness. It's a strength that I'm being vulnerable and acknowledging that I don't know.
That's how you can get help immediately.
Yeah.
Basically.
And understanding that you don't know something, you need to know something, and it needs to happen in a certain time frame. You know, what can I figure out myself would be the first thing. You know, do I know what the answer is? If I don't, can I learn what the answer is real quick? And if I can't do that, I'm tapping the network immediately.
Yeah.
3 steps from me.
And there's probably someone else who's got the answer already that you can just easily ask.
Jim Rohn is a guy that was probably mid 70s to 80s at the height of his public speaking, and he's huge on personal development. And he said all the time, you know, one book might take 5 years off of, you know, this hardship for me. One book of personal development can expedite my journey a ton. So what's a book a week do?
Yeah,
A lot. And I know that's kind of where I'm at now. Is at least 50 books this year is kind of my goal, and I think I've got 2 down already this year, but it's just like, man, I learned so much so fast from other people's stories.
100%.
And personal development is such a game changer to me from the iron game and from the business game, because I've learned more about overcoming adversity from personal development than I have really any other scenario.
Yeah. And going back to, you know, just how fitness, you know, doesn't have to be weights. It could be whatever it is, walking every day, doing whatever. Personal development for me is, you know, like books, courses, it's all the above. I view everything as
Your
personal
mentor,
development.
100%.
Yeah, it's not just books. Because
if I'm asking questions to get better, right?
Yes.
Whether it's asking questions, reading a book, asking questions, YouTube, you know, mentorship, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Personal development to me is just, what are you putting in your pipeline to be successful? And if you're putting something in that's going to advance you, that's personal development to me.
Like, I love listening to coaches speak or athletes tell their story, because even them going through that, there's so many lessons you can pick up. Like, it doesn't have to be, I sit here and read a book. I learn a lot from listening to other people.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So, yeah, personal development looks different for everyone.
It does. And understanding the purpose behind of it. So, you know, kind of identifying your success. Well, identifying what your success looks like normally comes from your pain points. What setbacks do I have in my life? What is hindering my happiness in life? You know, is it relationship? Is it financial? Is it, you know, time management? Well, a lot of that's a lack of awareness of your actual habits and being bad. So I always recommend The Compound Effect. I think from a base level, that's probably the most impactful book.
100%.
Because so many, myself included, don't realize how much time they waste. Time management is massive.
100%. Massive.
You know, 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a day adds up to hundreds of hours over time, and it happens so fast. And I don't think balance is a real scenario in life, but being intentional with your time when you're there.
Yes.
So if you're home, be home. If you're in business, be in business.
So my whole thing now is like, what am I consuming? Because I think now with social media and stuff like that, what you're looking at and what you are thinking about and just observing plays a huge part 100%. Into what happens day to day. Like, I hardly ever listen to music anymore. Now, of course, there is a time and place for music.
On the way to the gym, that's about it.
Hardly ever like watch like TV shows. It takes a lot for me to get into a TV show. But so that's why instead of listening to music, just turn on a damn podcast.
Yep.
Like there's so many good podcasts out there.
Yep.
Just turn one on. If you don't like it, go to another one.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So now it's like, if it's not purposefully helping me get better, and it can still be a little comedic and enjoyment and stuff like that, then I don't want to be involved in it.
Same. Yeah, I know for me, listening to outside perspective has been huge for me. I have been able to unconsciously tie together. The podcast idea came from me waking up one morning, hopping in the shower, and literally 20 minutes later, I had this all drawn out. The idea, the description, everything was in 20 minutes. But it didn't happen in that 20 minutes. It was the compound effect that led up to that and the purpose behind of it. And then it all just hit, like it clicked.
Yep.
And it's the same thing. Like what you consume consumes you. Regardless if you think it does or doesn't, it does.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're constantly looking at this fairy tale life that on a reality TV show that isn't reality,
Yeah.
or judging your home life compared to someone else's, or comparing yourself to somebody else, you're gonna be miserable.
Yeah.
But if you're just, okay, this person's doing something that I would aspire to do one day, and then you take it with a grain of salt, you understand what they did to get there, and then how do you apply certain things to your life. There's never been a book or anything that I've learned that I directly apply to all of it. I think we all, take bits and pieces and apply it in our own way. But man, you can learn so much in such a short amount of time.
It's just slowly reframing your mind to view things differently.
Yeah. And I think, when on any type of goal or journey in life, the number one thing is the commitment. Confidence comes over time. I don't think when I started this show, I had no confidence at all. I was 55 or 60% confident at best, but I was committed to it because the purpose behind of it was that impactful to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until, Treadway came along and really pushed me over the edge and called me out for a lot of my failures that I wasn't very confident. Hell, I'm still not that confident now, but I'm committed to it and I enjoy it. So being confident enough to know that you're in the right space, but fully commitment is such a huge thing.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, I'm thinking about like the person who hasn't like worked out in a while. You just got to make it become a part of like just what you do.
Right.
Like I now listen to podcasts. I now, go to the gym. It's not like it's not an event in my life where,
it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's not a phase. It's not like it's milestone. It's like, yep, I hit the gym today.
Yep.
Now it's just like, I go to the gym.
This
like,
isn't a diet. This is what I do. This is who I am. Identify yourself as that person that does this.
Yep.
And that does really change the reality of it, where I don't need to do this. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Because I care about myself. I don't know if you ever experienced this yourself, or if you had seen anyone, but for me growing up, I was chunky. I was a fat kid. I started working out at 13 because I hated who I was and I wanted to get better. Now I do it because I love who I am, because I respect myself enough to apply it in that realm. Did you ever have that experience growing up?
I was a fat kid.
I thought
I
we
was
shared
100% a fat
yeah.
kid. I was nerdy and stuff like that. So yeah, the gym played a huge part of it, and that's why I took it so serious, because I saw the results. I felt the confidence. Like, yeah, as soon as I saw bicep vein and like the girls started talking to me, I was like, oh, I should definitely keep doing this.
Right.
And then it just got to the part where I just loved going to the gym. I just loved working out, being with the guys, doing stuff like that, to where it just became like, this is just what I do.
You identify yourself like that. It's just part of your life. Yeah. And I've had people tell me, oh, you just do this to look good and to, for other people. And I always smile and laugh, because no, that's not, I don't give a shit what people think about me. If people think I look good, that's their opinion. That's fine. But no one's going to hold me to an expectation that's even remotely close to what I do.
Yeah.
Me looking a certain way or feeling a certain way is just a side effect of discipline. But to say that I put myself through what I do because of anyone else's opinion, no way in hell. I don't have too much care in the world for anyone's opinion at all. If I'm going to ask your opinion or for your advice, if I ask for your advice, I respect your opinion, but I don't give a shit what people think. We're not waking up 3 o'clock in the morning to make everyone else happy.
No.
I promise you that, because this shit's hard.
Yeah, the only person I'm thinking about whenever I wake up that's going to the gym is like basically me. Like, what am I getting out of this?
Right.
So
mentally and physically.
Yes.
The side effect of the discipline and the lifestyle that we live is how we look, how we feel, how we operate, our mindset, ultimately us being successful in our own individual right. Mm-hmm. That's the driving force for everything.
100%.
So let's talk about Varsity Creative, the Bulldog venture, all your different business ventures now, and kind of what's next for Cole Susac, the graphic gangster.
Yeah, so I'm involved in so many things. Obviously, I'm part owner and the creative director here at Max. Then I also have, me and Trey Speed. We have our own creative agency where we work with other contractors like R&R and stuff like that, where we do full branding packages, website designs, and stuff like that. So, Max is definitely our baby, but we love helping other people. So that's kind of our route. And then personally, we're talking about on to the next thing. What's next is I have, this brand, My Bulldog, that just started out because just another passion of mine. I just love fucking bulldogs. My brother had them. So, started this like fan page. It's really kind of blowing up on social media, and it turned into something I really didn't think was going to turn into, but I had this opportunity. So it's now I'm looking at it like, okay, what can I do with all these followers? So right now I'm in works of like basically developing like my own supplement company specifically for pets, like bulldogs.
I love it.
So that's
Isn't it
next.
amazing how a simple passion turns into a market need and a business opportunity?
Yep.
It's insane how I've seen multiple things like that where this person just had this passion, would have done it for free. You're passionate about it for no money,
100%.
but then you see an opportunity and you want to help the community, and the side effect is a financial return.
Yep. All you do is like, all right, I enjoy doing this. Like I enjoy knitting sweaters. So as soon as you find like the old lady who's like, oh, I need a new sweater. I really like this. How can I get one? All it takes is one person to basically ask.
That's it.
If one person's asking, there's probably way more people asking.
When you're able to create create a source of value, whether it's a coaching or what you're able to guide people into doing, whatever it is, you create a value for free, and then a lot of time the return ends up coming almost forcefully because people want to pay you for what you're presenting.
100%.
And like in your situation, you've seen a gap, you're able to recognize and provide value for it, and then like, well, there's a market gap here, dude. I can take advantage of this, and then there you go.
100%. Like I'm thinking about but like our buddy Mitch, who's in the gym, Bobby, who's good at welding and stuff like that. The blue collar market, there's a need for all that stuff.
Right.
Like I have no idea how to do any of that shit. So of course I'm asking them. When I'm trying to give them my business because I don't want to learn how to do it.
Right.
And there's so much of that.
Right. Yeah, it's incredible. So where can everyone find you at? What's your social handles?
You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Cole Susac, and then maxoffermuscle.com, and then Varsity Creative.
The graphic gangster himself in the house. Iron Infrastructure Podcast. We're out. This episode is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. For all your supplement needs, go to maxeffortmuscle.com.